Since AEW came around in 2019, Britt Baker has come a long way, and if you were to compare her currently to how she was in 2019, the difference is like night and day. In 2019, all that really made her interesting was the fact that she was a dentist, and commentary made sure to beat us over the head with that fact. Oh my god, it's Britt Baker, she's a dentist! Excalibur, did you see that? She's a dentist! She's a dentist! Oh my god, she's a dentist! But she has grown immensely over the past 2 years into one of the most over people in AEW. Britt Baker was AEW's first women's wrestler to sign to AEW, and from the start, she was pushed as she won her debut match at AEW's Double or Nothing 2019, which was a fatal 4-way match between Kylie Rae, Nyla Rose, and Awesome Kong. And at the next pay-per-view, Fight for the Fallen, she teamed up with Ryo to take on Priestley and Shoko Nakajima. And in this match, she suffered a concussion at the hands of Priestley. But at AEW's All Out 2019, Britt Baker crossed paths with Priestley again, as her and Priestley and Nyla Rose were in the final 3. And Britt Baker made sure to get revenge on Priestley, as she hit a sick Canadian destroyer on her.
Baker! Kick to the midsection. Oh, destroyer!
I never get tired of watching those. But anyway, Britt Baker's feud with Priestley then culminated at AEW's Full Gear 2019 with Britt Baker picking up the win. Britt Baker was in the first challenger for Riho's AEW's Women's World Championship, but unfortunately she lost this match to Riho. But despite this massive push from the start in AEW that she got from management, there was still something missing. You could tell that AEW management had huge plans for her, but she was still in her boyfriend Adam Cole shadow, and something just wasn't clicking. Her character wasn't very intriguing, and to be honest, she was greener than the slime that they use at the Nickelodeon's Kids' Choice Awards.
That's the best you can do? I'm a big guy, there's no way to...
But despite all of this, you could tell that there was something special there. She was kind of like a diamond in the rough, just waiting to be polished, and once she was polished, she would shine so brightly. So because of this, Kenny,
by God!
Omega had an idea. He had an idea to turn Britt Baker heel. So on Chris Jericho's Rockin' Rager cruise ship, we got the first taste of heel Britt Baker as she bragged about how she was a dentist, and she dissed Tony Schiavone for being a shitty barista before he came to AEW. Now that's a burn. Why you gotta be so rude? And as Britt Baker was roasting Tony Schiavone, he even mouthed to himself, what the f, because Britt Baker was just so savage. But this very moment on the cruise ship was where the magic began. And the following week, she lost to Yuka Sakazaki in about 3 minutes, but what happened after the match solidified her as a heel, as she attacked Yuka Sakazaki and curb stomped her on the ring ropes, which caused Yuka Sakazaki to lose a tooth, and then Britt put her in a lockjaw as Yuka was bleeding from the mouth. And in the following weeks, her heel persona was further solidified as she had a lot of interviews where her snobbish heel character was on show, as she talked a lot about how she was a dentist, had 3 degrees, and she used dental verbatim and terminology that nobody even knew, which pissed fans off.
It led to severe pulpal necrosis and the formation of a chronic apical abscess.
And she had this interesting synergy with Tony Schiavone, and the dynamic of their relationship was very fun to watch as a viewer. It seemed like Britt Baker was finally getting an interesting character that people can be intrigued by. But then the pandemic began. The pandemic kind of halted Britt Baker's momentum because she developed this unique skill to play with the crowd, but with no fans, there was no crowd to play with. But this didn't deter Britt Baker, as she still featured heavily on Dynamite, and she had an amazing match with Hikaru Shida in one of the early pandemic episodes. In this match, she famously broke her nose, and she had a sadistic smile on her face as the blood was running from her nose into her mouth. And this was so badass.
It's the motherfucking Eagle Double G.
Snoop Dogg! Britt Baker's first match with Hikaru Shida was her best match to that date. And it showed that Britt Baker had improved in the ring. She was no Kenny Omega or Kazuchika Okada in the ring, but she was pretty good and was improving a lot. Unfortunately, shortly before Double or Nothing 2020, she suffered a knee injury after Kris Statlander tossed Nyla Rose square on Britt's knee, and that caused her to be out of action for some time. And watching this happen as a fan really sucked because once again she was gaining momentum. But luckily, AEW was smart enough not to take her off Dynamite, and she was on Dynamite almost every week while she was cutting promos in a wheelchair. She was a literal role model. Get it? She's a role model because she's in a wheelchair which has wheels that roll. You getting it? Yes? No? Britt Baker's prima donna-esque promos in a wheelchair were gold, and the perfect foil for her at that point was Big Swole, so they entered into a feud. And this feud was honestly really so entertaining, as one week Big Swole dumped Britt Baker into the trash. And this led to the first ever women's cinematic match, which was a tooth and nail match between Big Swole and Britt Baker. And this match was scheduled for the buy-in of AEW All Out 2020, but after fans complained about this, it ended up being added to the main card at AEW All Out. And this showed that there was a demand for women's wrestling and a demand for Britt Baker. This match was interesting to say the least, as it had a lot of cool spots and cool moments, but it maybe wasn't the best match for pay-per-view. As a lot of people thought it was a good cinematic match and was entertaining, but a lot of people also really did not like it. But after the Big Swole match, she entered into a feud with Thunder Rosa, and Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker's feud is arguably the greatest women's feud that AEW has ever seen. The promos, the brawls, the storytelling between the two was top notch, and in their first match, Britt Baker took the W. But where this feud really shined bright was in their second match, which was a lights out match and which was the first women's main event in AEW Dynamite history. Going into this match, expectations were high on Britt and Thunder Rosa, but they blew expectations out of the park and was better than anybody ever thought it would actually be. It was a bloody and brutal match with ladders, tables, and thumbtacks, and it kept you on the edge of your seat and had you on your couch at home like,
What the hell?
it might have been the best women's match in AEW history. Even though Britt lost, this match did more for her than it did for Thunder Rosa, as Britt Baker was catapulted into superstardom and the pictures of Britt's bloody face sold a bunch of t-shirts. Because it was iconic. After this match with Thunder Rosa, she was red hot and she challenged Hikaru Shida for the AEW Women's World Championship at AEW's Double or Nothing 2021. And her match with Hikaru Shida did not disappoint. This match showed that Britt Baker had not only improved character-wise, but she had also improved majorly in the ring. And at this point, all the stars were aligning in Britt Baker's favor. And it just felt right to put the title on her, as fans were clamoring to see Britt Baker win the AEW Women's World Championship. Britt Baker had fully matured into a star, as her in-ring work was very good, her character and promo skills were some of the best in AEW, and she was fully deserving to be the AEW Women's World Champion. But to be completely honest, her reign so far has been kind of okay with regards to booking. But ever since she won the title, it's been apparent more than ever how over Britt Baker truly is, as the crowd eats up everything that she does. She's technically a heel and is booked like a heel, but her feuds have shown that she's so good at being bad that crowds actually cheer her, and that's the mark of a great character, as is the case with someone like Stone Cold Steve Austin or Becky Lynch, who are so good at being heels that they turn face. Even though Britt Baker's a heel, she consistently gets the crowd to cheer for her and the crowd to boo her babyface opponents, as is the case in her feud with Red Velvet and Kris Statlander. Britt Baker was booked as a heel, but at times the crowd cheered her bastard heel antics. Her feud with Red Velvet culminated in the main event of the first ever AEW Rampage, and Britt Baker picked up the win, and then later down the road she faced Kris Statlander at AEW's All Out 2021 in an excellent match, which was testament to how far Britt Baker has really come. Britt Baker is so over that the very first thing that CM Punk said to fans after 7 long years out of wrestling was,
"You guys really know how to make a kid feel like Britt Baker in Pittsburgh."
Ruby Soho won the AEW Women's Casino Battle Royale at AEW's All Out, and she challenged Britt Baker for the AEW Women's World Championship. And the addition of Ruby Soho to the AEW Women's division added more gas to the growing fire that is Britt Baker, because she's an opponent who has more name value than anyone else Britt Baker has faced up till this point. And she can go toe to toe with Britt Baker in promos, as seen with the promo battle between Ruby and Britt the week before AEW Grand Slam. A lot of the stuff that they said to each other during this promo was just savage.
But you didn't run away from anything, Ruby. You got fired.
And Ruby Soho's and Britt Baker's feud culminated in the main event of AEW Grand Slam, which was AEW's biggest show of all time in front of 20,000 plus people in New York City in the Arthur Ashe Stadium. The fact that Britt Baker main evented AEW's biggest show of all time tells you how great she's actually become. Since the start of AEW, Britt Baker has been a mainstay in the AEW women's division, and she's carried the division on her back ever since AEW has moved into this new era of fans coming back. AEW have got a legit star on their hands in DMD. Britt Baker has come a long way since AEW's inception, but she showed that hard work truly does pay off, because now she's eating the fruits of her labor. And this is only just the beginning. Thank you for watching the video. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. But anyway, see you next time. Goodbye.